Hey everyone, welcome back to the Live Legacy Now podcast. I am so glad that you're here. Today we're going to answer some questions for you about how much is your home worth. And as a guest today, I have my friend and coworker, Sarah Hoffman.
Hey everyone, I am part of the Legacy Realty Advisors team and excited to present this home information.
So you're ready to sell your home, but you don't really know where to start or how much it's worth. And that is what we want to help you come to today. Throughout my 25 years of helping people answer this question, I've had all different scenarios come up. And this time of the market is different from all the other markets that we've had. And Sarah's been with me for about 2 years now. So Sarah, what are kind of the top things that you've seen that our clients are asking whenever it comes to pricing their home?
Well, I think the first thing is people can get excited about seeing a number. They go to Zillow and see the nice, big, usually big number with Zestimate. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to sell. If I'm going to get that much, I want to offload this thing. But I think they need to slow down, and we'll share some information about what that means later. But I mean, anything can happen. I think you need to decide if it's the right time to sell based on your situation and circumstances. 6 months ago, we weren't in war. 6 months ago, there's a lot of things that have changed. So I think, rather than just chasing a number or getting excited about it, it's reviewing really your own personal circumstances.
Sarah, I am so glad that you brought up Zillow, because Zillow has been a huge platform for people, and they get these things called Zestimates.
Right.
And that becomes their new gospel. And we both know, and you've seen through working with me, that the Zillow number does not actually match reality about 99% of the time.
And so let's get into that a little bit, because I think Zillow, and correct me if I'm wrong, pulls numbers from just data set points. It doesn't know that a potential seller, might have remodeled their kitchen, or that there's something else building outside of the neighborhood that would affect property values.
Right. That is true. That is very true. And while Zillow is a good tool, you want to make sure that you add to that tool data. And this is something that I've never done before in my 25 years. In the history of my career, I always would say you can base what's going to happen in the future off of what's happened in the past. And so when I go to sit down with, let's say Sarah wants to sell her house, and I wanted to say one more thing about what you said earlier about when is the best time to sell your house. It's whenever you need to. Right. And we always see there's about 4 different times that people need to sell. And it's when someone is born, so when they have a baby, when someone passes away, when there's a divorce, or when children move out. And so if any of those things are happening, it doesn't really matter what your Zillow estimate says. It's time to move. Right. And we saw so many people wait. They're waiting for the interest rate to go down. They're waiting for the election. They're waiting for this. And the best time, I don't remember who said it. There was some person said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yes.
The second best time to plant a tree is today.
Right.
Yeah. So, waiting for things to get better is not a good strategy.
Right.
Conditions right now are not what they were 6 months ago.
Right.
Like you said, we weren't in a war 6 months ago. Gas wasn't $5 a gallon.
Right.
In some places 6 months ago. I mean, those things are real. Those things impact us. And also things that happen in our lives that we don't foresee, like having a baby.
Right. Some people foresee that.
Sometimes it's a surprise.
Sometimes, yes.
I never foresaw it. Anyways. Back on topic. So whenever you're talking about the Zestimate, and we're talking about combining the Zestimate with facts, my whole career, I always had people look at the past 6 months,
right?
What has sold just in their square mile, and is 300 square feet bigger or smaller than their house.
Right, and that has worked, right?
That has worked.
Up
until recently. And everyone got very spoiled, I'm going to just go ahead and say it, with COVID pricing. Not everyone, home sellers. And now prices are adjusting back to what they would have been if COVID had not happened.
Right.
Just this week, I have a buyer who's relocating here from Illinois, and the seller had their house priced for $350,000. Okay. 4 offers came in on the same day. One offer had an escalation clause. The next offer had an escalation clause plus an appraisal gap. You might be saying, Jennifer, what are these terms? Yes. What are you talking about? That was the same question I was asking myself 4 years ago. None of these things existed in our market until COVID happened.
Right.
So my client offered $15,000 more than the list price. And we did what's called an escalation clause, which means I want to pay more than the highest bidder up to $365,000. So $15,000 more than they were asking, right? What I didn't do was an appraisal gap. Do you know what an appraisal gap is, Sarah?
I do, okay. But I feel like that's unfair.
Well, go ahead and tell them.
So it's when the appraiser comes through after we have a contract on a house, and let's say the appraiser walks in and determines that the home's value is actually less than what the offered price was.
Right.
So that's where the appraisal gap comes in.
And what does that do?
So that fills the gap between what it's actually valued at and what the price was, but also what loan did they get approved for? Did they get approved for that full amount of $365? Because guess what? That loan's not going to cover that little space in between of the appraisal amount and where the price of the home is.
Okay. So I don't want to get your hopes up, because every single home transaction is different. And if you're looking to sell your home, I'm not telling you that you're going to go into this multiple offer situation. What I am saying, though, is that when they met with their realtor, she advised them to price the home under market value to create this frenzy, right, which in turn got them more than they would have gotten had they listed it at market value.
And I think that may be where a lot of sellers kind of mess up, is that they were like, well, let's just pause here and let's just put it at a 10 grand more than what we think that it's really worth. And let's just see what happens. And that actually has the opposite effect if you look up psychology studies on how many offers you get and how much traction and how much interest you get in the home. It actually has the opposite effect. They're like, why is it so high? And they don't even go and see it. It doesn't show.
Right. So that's the first thing is yes, you can look on Zillow. Yes, you can talk to your neighbor and your cousin. That does not mean that's what your home is going to sell for. You need to get someone to get you a market analysis and tell you based on facts the range that you should price it at. And we always say, if you price it right, it'll sell overnight. If you price it wrong, it'll stay on the market too long.
Right. So not always will we get maybe a multiple offer situation by pricing it below market value. Not always, but it can create more traction and more momentum right at the beginning of listing.
What do you think is another question that someone might ask if they wanted to put their home on the market?
So, okay, I look it up. I'm on Zillow, let's say, and I see this nice round number that sounds appealing. What is the next step? What does a realtor do that needs to happen next? Because Zillow is not going to tell the full story, as we kind of mentioned earlier.
Okay, because you said that, I want to just briefly touch on a listing that I showed this morning. Okay, so a lot of times homeowners might look at the commission and say, oh my goodness, I don't want to give away $20,000 of commission. And I, as a frugal human, understand that that's a good chunk of money.
Right.
And yet, why would you not spend 3% or 6% to save your biggest investment that you've ever made? And this property this morning, there is something called a limited service brokerage. Have we talked about that before?
I don't believe we've mentioned it on this podcast.
Okay, well,
is it the same as, but one thing we have talked about, I think maybe touched on previously, is a discounted brokerage service. Is it the same thing?
It's a way for a seller to save money. Okay. So on what they walk away with, it might look like they saved money. However, the agent on the other side representing the buyer doesn't have another professional to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, me as the buyer's agent, I'm doing all of the work.
The transaction.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So typically they don't have a regular sign in the yard. They don't have a regular key box on the property. The photos aren't as good. So the photos of this property are terrible. It's $400,000. So this is not a small investment, okay? Photos are terrible, but my client says, I think it might have something to offer. So I see that it's limited service, so I contact the owner.
Mm-hmm.
He gives me a code to get in. So not an MLS key box, first of all. So first of all, photos are terrible. Second of all, we don't have an MLS key box. Third, I ask him one more question. He doesn't answer. So I go to show my buyer this morning with the code. Doesn't work.
Oh no.
So I wait at the property for 48 minutes for this guy to respond because my client's in from out of state.
Oh my
and they need a place to live. So had I been a different realtor or had I not had the time to wait, then my clients would have passed on this opportunity. And I did wait. I did push back my next appointment, go back to the property to show it, and they love it.
Wow.
It backs up to a pond. In front of it is a pond. So even though it's a small lot, it feels like you're in the country.
Right.
And that homeowner probably would have missed out on selling their home because they wanted to save the commission when it's really costing them the sale of their home.
Right, because without the buyer traffic walking through, you don't have an offer.
Right, and it's been on the market for 56 days, which in this market is long. The average days on the market last month was only 28. And the reason why is not because the house isn't amazing, it's because it isn't being marketed properly.
Wow.
So while you might say, I want to save money on the commission, you're really costing yourself in the end with not getting your home sold. Okay, one more. Give me one more topic that you think sellers might be asking. What is my home worth? What do I do next? So the next thing you do, you call a realtor.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be us, but it needs to be someone that's going to help you get the most, because home ownership is usually your largest investment of your life. You got to protect that.
Right. And here's one thing. So I'm a new real estate agent, and I have been trying to gather content so that I can post and I can learn a little bit more about the market and get in to see some of these homes to see why a home might be listed for $400,000 as opposed to the one next door that wouldn't be. So I have reached out to 3 realtors in the last week, just asking like, hey, would you mind if I show up to your listing and just take some video or put it on my newsletter that's printed? 0 response. And they're representing a seller, and this is free marketing. It's another agent. I'm not interfering. These were all vacant houses, so they didn't have somebody's life that was going to be impacted.
And also vacant houses are the ones that need to sell the most because those people are already making a mortgage on another house.
Right.
So those are the people that we need to help the most. Same thing. I called the seller 7 times this morning. I called the listing agent 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
And whenever she called me back, she goes, what house are you even at? And I told her the number, and she goes, just that. I told her the house number, and she said, I have over 100 listings. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh my.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
So there are just so many things that you want to make sure as a home seller when you're asking what is your home worth. It's not just what is your home worth. It's who is representing my home, and do they really want to sell it? Are they on fire? Are they ready to get it sold for me for as much as possible in as short amount of time as possible?
Right.
All right. Do we have time for one more thing, or do we think we've put our
I think that's
guests on overload?
Let's wrap it.
Okay. All right. So once again, the 3 things that you learned today. Number 1, your Zestimate is not always what your home is going to be worth. What's another takeaway?
Number 2, interview a realtor, and maybe not just one, maybe several. If they don't return your call within a reasonable amount of time, the same amount of time that you would expect if a buyer were interested in your property, they're off the list.
Yes. Amen. They eliminate themselves.
Yes.
And number 3 is you want to make sure that you don't wait. Hesitation, delay, that can cost you more than you really know. So the best time to sell your home or to buy a home is whenever your life is ready for it.
Right.
2 things you want to share.
I want to share that they need to contact Legacy Realty Advisors.
Okay. And share our YouTube channel because we want to grow. And whenever you do that, instead of adding value to you, we're multiplying value to everyone. And that's what we're here to do, is multiply our value.
Yes.
And the one thing that you're going to do is you're going to have a great week. And when you're ready to sell your home or buy a home, you're going to contact a realtor, not your Zestimate.
Yes, and we're so excited that you watched clear to the end. If you've made it this far, please like, subscribe, follow, and stay tuned for more great real estate tips.
And we will see you here next time on the Live Legacy Now podcast. Go and live your legacy right now, because it's not what you leave behind, it's the decisions you make every day. Hey guys, thank you so much for your time today. If you got value out of what we talked about, please share this with someone that you want to start living their life with purpose, on purpose. And remember, you are living your legacy right now, and I cannot wait to see you again next time.